Welcome to Democratic Television, a program of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party that brings insights, perspectives, and attitudes of our always thoughtful Democratic guests. Today we have a wonderful couple with us today, Al and Dee Alarcon, longtime Democratic Party activists. Dee and Al, or Al and Dee, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Well, before we talk about your activism, and I know you've been playing a big role, leadership role in the Santa Clara County Democratic Club, I'd like to get to know, where you guys are from, where'd you grow up, stuff like that, the early years.
I came from Chicago, Illinois. I was born in Chicago. And when I was 5 years old, we moved to Southern California. And I went to the schools there and gradually moved up here after about 20 years. And
so are you a surfer girl? Did you get out on the beaches or anything?
No, I went out on the beaches, but not surfing.
Not surfing?
No, I tried once, almost drowned.
Oh.
So, yeah, they pulled me out before that happened.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah. But, no, I was never really the beach person.
Oh, okay. The stereotype of Southern California.
Right.
We're happy to have you up here.
Thank you.
Al, how about you?
Well, I'm originally from Texas, but I moved down to Southern California about 1950. I was raised there for the next 10 years, and my dad and I had a business going. We started a trucking business, and it went good. And after I turned about 23 years old, I decided the younger brothers needed to get into the business, and there were too many of us there, so I moved out to Northern California.
Well, that's great. Did you meet Dee on the way?
No, I met her here.
That came a little later.
That came later, a few years later.
Okay.
And
great news.
It was great for both of us. We've now been married over 40 years. And,
wow.
We're still enjoying life.
Well, great. And kids?
5 daughters.
5 daughters.
Between us, yes.
That's a lot of girls.
9 grandchildren. So they're all spread out, though. We only have 2 living close by, two granddaughters and 1 daughter. But the rest are in Southern California.
Oh, interesting migrations in your family.
Yes.
So are your daughters prone to get active in politics, or not that that's for everybody?
No, at this point, our daughters are working. With today's economy, you need 2 workers in the family, and they're both actively in their workforce, and got kids to raise and send them to school and pay for everything else. So, no, they're not actively involved, but they do support us in our democratic work that we do.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's nice to be supported. Growing up, did you have any influences, any family members or teachers or somebody that may have given you a spark that giving back is a good thing to do?
Well, I did. I was my dad and I basically started our business together, and the trucking business. But when he acquired those trucks, we had 2 trucks to start with. He actually went around collecting from the churches and organizations clothing to take to the people in Southern California, down in Baja California.
Oh.
And he distributed among, he would announce that he was coming, he'd let the churches know he was coming, and people would actually ride in, this is interesting, that they would ride in horses and mules and walk into the churches just to select something. And when they don't have anything like in Southern California or in Mexico, they come and they take what they need and they leave the rest for those that need it.
Oh,
and
great
I found
ethic.
that very interesting.
Yeah.
But I followed my dad's footsteps as much as I can because he was a great person. He was very generous with his time and with his money.
That's great. Dee, did you have anything like that, or who could?
Well, my parents were both in the Democratic Party.
Oh.
And at that time, we were young, and I wasn't really into it. I would always see the politicians coming to the house because they always held meetings at the house.
Oh, no kidding.
They always did polls at the house, or they did what they could for the Democratic Party. And my mother especially got very much involved. My dad, he worked for the newspaper, and there were 7 children, and he didn't get as involved as my mom did.
Right.
So,
Well, like you're saying, you got to raise the family.
Yeah.
People had to work. So you came from a family that
I did.
kind of, so it was in
Yeah.
your blood, and yours a little bit differently.
Yes, but we still had a large family. There were 7 brothers and sisters.
Oh, and yours?
Yes.
Wow.
And we kept pretty busy.
I could imagine. So you moved up to Northern California here in the South Bay area. At what point did you guys start getting involved as a couple?
As a couple is when we retired. Both of us
Oh.
retired, and it's been about actually 3 years ago. And we thought, well, we had time on our hands now, and we wanted to get a little bit involved in something beside work.
Well, but you do you have any hobbies, Al? Do you have anything interesting you do?
Yes, I love to work with wood. I do furniture. I done the mantle in our house, which is about 8 feet wide. But I've done that, piano benches. I've done different things, picture frames. And so that was one of my hobbies, working with wood. The other one is I collect cameras. I have over 100 old cameras that date back to 1895 and on through to the late 60s.
Wow.
And so those are something I try to keep up with, and it's hard because they're disappearing little by little. So I go out and try to find them, garage sales, flea markets, wherever I can find them.
Do you take a lot of pictures of Dee?
No,
That
not
doesn't
too
happen.
many.
She doesn't like her picture taken.
Oh, well. So that's, that actually probably ties into being a volunteer. You're giving of yourself, and you really want to get out there and maybe not even thinking of yourselves. So let's talk a little bit about how did you actually get involved? What made you link up with a level of the Democratic Party that you hadn't been in?
Well, I think that comes on my part. I've been a member of the UAW for many years, and worked at Ford Motor Company till the day they closed. But we kept friends, and some of my friends are the vice president of UAW, the president of the UAW retirees, 76 in Milpitas, and they kept inviting us to go to the JJ dinner. And we actually met Puche.
Pat,
Pat Puche.
Puche. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
she's a member of the Santa Clara County Democratic Club, and she was out there waiting. So we stopped and asked her for directions one day. Where are they having this dinner? And she said, "Are you members of the Democratic Club?" I said, "No, we're members of the UAW, and so we're here to attend the JJ dinner." And she told us about the club that was only half a mile from our house, not even that, about 4 blocks from our house. So they have a Democratic club there that meets every month. So I said, okay, well, we'll attend and see what's going on. Maybe we can learn a little bit. Because while we've been voting all this time, we never really got involved with the party. And so we started attending and trying to learn a few things, and that's how we got going.
But it's interesting because you were around that at least a little bit when you were growing up. So you saw people coming in and going out and
Right.
doing stuff. And I know how people were active was a little different. How you registered voters was a little bit more bureaucratic back a few years, and now it's a lot simpler. So you guys came to the JJ dinner, or the annual Democratic Party dinner.
Right.
I hope. Well, I don't really care if the food was good. I hope the program was good.
The program was great, and it was worthwhile coming. And of course, being at the UAW and with our friends that was the president, we also attended some of the luncheons for like Elaine Alquist, our congresswoman, and for Jim Bill. And this is where we got to get interested, because we found these people were really great people to talk to. We're talking about Elaine Alquist, Jim Bill, and some of the other politicians that we got involved with. So let's say, well, let's get involved. We got a little bit more involved, and attending the club, we talked to Jay James, which was the president of our club
yeah.
at the time. And I stopped and talked to him, and he says, well, I hope you learned plenty, because this is a place where you can get involved and you can help out. And so that set us to thinking, well, maybe we can get involved. And so when he retired as our president, Aldous Pearl, which is our president now
Yeah,
at this time.
yeah.
Now there's a lady that is hard to keep up with because
She is.
she can get you going and get that interest in you, and she can move you real fast through the system, and she can get things done. So in talking to her, she says, well, why don't you do this? And why don't you do that? Yeah, we'd be glad to do it. We'd be glad to help. And so that's how we got started.
She's a positive force of nature and
Absolutely.
a retired public health nurse and someone who also very involved in the community. Well, she must have seen in you some real willingness to step up. But let me ask you, Dee, meeting some of these elected officials, did you feel a warmth and a closeness, or did they seem like that stereotype of politicians?
No, I think they're very friendly people, very warm people, most of them. I didn't know them before, of course.
Yeah.
But when we did meet them, like Mike Honda is such a nice person,
Yeah.
wonderful person, and Sally Lieber, the ones that we have met have been very, very warm.
That's great. And I find that too. They're real people that, they're just involved a little bit differently from us. Well, Al, let me ask you, the photographer in you, the Ansel Adams in you, not just collecting cameras, but my understanding is you actually get out and take photos and help with the newsletter and get your...
Well, going back to my camera days, I used to do photography, but my eyesight were nothing to compete with modern photographers. And so I had to end up with everything automatic. And I got away from the big cameras because my eyes could not keep up with them. I got the little cameras, and they seem to work fine. I do the photography for some of our events. I'm one of them. We have also another person, Herb Engstrom, who's our secretary, or actually our
Treasurer.
financial treasurer.
Yeah.
And he does some of it too, but combined we get plenty of pictures out for our newsletter. And we did our event here just recently. And I think we have together printed about, 15, 16 pictures in our newsletter.
Was that the event you guys did last month where you had a big celebration, and I believe Mike Honda,
Yes.
Sally Lieber, some other elected officials were there? And
Actually, it was Mike
Paul
Honda
Fung.
and Sylvia Lofgren
So-
and Paul Fung.
oh, wow.
And they both attended. They were great speakers because our event was to celebrate the unions
Yeah.
and our union workers. And it was a time when everything around our United States is really going downhill
Yeah.
with our unions, that we were pushed to celebrate and have them speak to us. And Mike Honda and Sol Lofgren and Paul Fung addressed these issues
That
that
sounds
are of
great.
our concern right now.
Okay, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about volunteerism and learn more about what wonderful people you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, my name's Dave Cortese. I'm the president of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. A lot of people come to me day in and day out asking, how can I get involved? How can I make a difference in my community? Well, one of the things you can do is contact the local Democratic Party. As a lifelong Democrat, I know that that's one of the most inspiring and useful things you can do to help people, especially people who can't stand up for themselves. If you'd like to do that, there's a couple ways to contact them. You can use their phone number, 408-445-9500, or go to the Democratic Party website, www.sccdp.org. If you want to make a difference, there's probably no better way than contacting our local Democratic Party. Thank you.
Welcome back. We're talking with two great Democratic Party activists, Al and Dee, and you're still here, so you could be out there registering voters, but you decided to stay, and I sure appreciate that.
We got somebody to cover for the day, so it's not all lost.
So what do you do when you go out to register voters and table? What does that mean?
Well, one of the things is that we set up, and that's a project in itself, but we'll cover that later, is that we approach people and have them register so they're eligible to vote in this county. And sometimes we get some from other counties, but we still register them. Now, one of the questions is, do you register Republicans, Democrats, anything? Yes, by law we have to, but we do that, and we enjoy the day meeting different people. We have some of the experiences that we've had is last year at our Art and Wine Festival in Santa Clara. We got to meet some of the local officials that were running for positions within the city. So that was an experience. And we were also joined by several of our members, including Aldous Burrell from our club, president of our club, joined us for the day. And so it's a time to really enjoy the day and yet get people registered throughout the day.
Well, Dee, when you're out there doing that, do you ever find people are rude to you or mean?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely, we do. We get our share of, the Republicans who like to comment. But we also get people who are very nice, who come by just to say thank you.
Oh.
And that's always nice to hear.
That's rewarding.
But not too many critical people. But it's
So-
always interesting.
How do you handle nasty people or critical people? Do you have a strong backhand or?
Well, we try and just let them talk. It's not worth debating with them. Al will probably debate a little bit with them, but when it does get out of hand, it's just better to, tell them to move on.
Yeah.
But
I guess you probably find some people want to pick a fight, and you're there for a different reason.
Right. We've had that instances where they are determined they're going to create a fight. But the thing is that most of the time, if we let them talk themselves, they'll talk themselves into foolishness, because they get a little crowd around them, and then other people say, to let him go, he's crazy or whatever. But we just let them talk to themselves to death, literally.
So people are enthusiastic. They're also, in some cases, looking for trouble. But people must have legitimate questions. Gee, I just moved recently. Do I really need to register?
yes, we get that all the time. A lot of our re-registrants are because they have moved, and so they have to re-register to vote.
Yeah.
But most of them are legitimate questions. We try and answer it the best that we can. And if we can't, we'll get back to them.
Well, let me ask you this. If I'm thinking of volunteering, I'm going to be a little apprehensive. I'm not going to know how to fill out the form and all that. How did you learn how to do that stuff? Is it sink or swim, or?
No, originally we took over this position from Bill Bartmedler. Him and his wife were the ones who did all the voter registration, and unfortunately she passed away.
Yeah.
And so we started with Bill, actually. He trained us. And then Bill, unfortunately, got ill, and he hasn't been able to carry on. So we just took over from him.
But the important point is people sit down and they give you the training. They give you a sense of what to expect.
Right.
So you're not walking into it cold.
No. We were trained for it.
May I answer? One of the things that we do is that we ask for volunteers to go with us, and we don't throw the job at them. We actually have them sit with us and go through the whole day process, so they can, if they have questions, we can answer for them. And we train them on the spot, and we actually train them with somebody registering at the time. So we're not, you just don't walk out in the field and say, here I am to do the job. You actually got a lot of training behind it.
So there's a little apprenticeship program that goes with it,
That's
so to
correct.
speak.
Yes.
So you could be out there registering voters, but you also have gotten involved in the Democratic Club, which I know is maybe the oldest Democratic club in the county. What is it about the club that attracts you to it? What makes it fun to go to meetings, or are they fun?
Sometimes. Yes, we get some very good speakers.
you have
yes, we
speakers
have
in
very
your
good
club meetings?
speakers.
Yeah, we have had excellent speakers. They come from all ranges. It's just not the Democratic Party. They come from. We also have from the county. We have speakers that come from the state in different positions to address our group. We've had recently Dr. Sofin, who spoke on the politics of our economy, and so we get quite a few interesting speakers.
So noted experts, not just elected
correct.
officials.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so yes, it makes it interesting, and sometimes even our own members have interest in things like Herb Engstrom. He constantly has interesting subjects to talk about, and I don't know if you recall, some time back he actually gave a class on financing because he's the treasurer. And so yes, we have very interesting people, and one of the things that we have done is on our volunteer work, we've come up with a system of having people sign up to volunteer, and we actually have their name and address with us at all times, and we call them and say, do you want to volunteer for this? Do you want to volunteer? And sometimes they're kind of leery, well, I've never done it before, and come on down.
And so that's when that whole apprenticeship
Right.
process kicks in. How do you get people to volunteer at your meetings? Do you have a system that you've worked out?
He has a system. We have a log sheet, and if we know something's coming up that volunteers are needed, we have the log sheet set up right there. We get their names and email addresses, their phone numbers, and contact them.
So basically, it's a pretty easy thing to do for people to sign up
Yeah.
and get their assignments.
Yeah,
Well,
if
one of
they're
the-
really interested in it,
Yeah.
and doing it.
One of the things that we find out that if you stand up and ask for volunteers, people are leery to volunteer because they don't have a full explanation.
Yeah.
But with our system that we have now, we have a sign-up sheet up at the table, and they go in and sign in, and then we tell them, we'll call you and give you any information that you need. So yes, we have their phone numbers and their email addresses, and when something comes up, we call on a personal basis. We don't go up in front of the group and say, you volunteered to help, here we are. No, we do it in a more discreet manner that doesn't put them on the spot.
Now, let me ask you this question. Politics can be very confusing. There's national, state, local, there's legislation, there's platform positions. Do you have to go to a class to learn everything there is to learn about being a Democrat or the U.S. Constitution?
Well, actually, attending our meetings, we have very well-informed members, and I'll name a few of them. There's Russ Harden, there's Shirley O'Dew. She's one of the founders of our club.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then there's Dan Hoffman, who is very informed on anything on politics. You mention a name and he'll give you a full history on that subject. But yes, we have a lot of our members that are well-informed already that can give you any kind of answer.
So you guys have a reputation as being willing to step up to the plate whenever. And is that because you've made this a priority besides the cameras and the woodworking? I mean, this is really what you guys like doing?
We do enjoy doing it, yeah. And another thing is you really can't complain about anything if you don't try and do something about it, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go out there and help where we can help out, volunteer, and, and step up to the plate.
Have you met people that have joined the club? Met people, on the street or in the malls or whatever? And
Who have joined our club?
yeah, who have gotten, more and more active, or just your goal isn't to do that. It's really to get
No.
them registered, maybe answer
Right,
some questions.
Yeah. And we try to promote the club, and we give them the information for our club if they're interested, And we've had people come to our club meetings,
Oh.
They've come a couple of times and
Checked it out.
checked it out,
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we've had some people come.
Now, Al, you mentioned earlier it takes a little bit. You don't just go to a site, an art and wine festival, or to a mall. You have to do equipment and maybe sign up in advance.
Well, this is
Yeah.
where she comes in. She does all the
Oh.
follow-up work.
Yeah.
There's you take like the shopping centers, the malls. You have to get a permit a certain time ahead of time, and you have to have all the information for them, and then you have to call back and find out where you stand and where you're assigned to. You don't always get the assignment that you would like. They assign you a place within that mall. And so some of the things have to be done way ahead of time.
So you don't just walk in and say,
Oh,
here
no.
we are, we're setting up, move that stool,
No.
we're putting up our ironing board or whatever. And do you
No.
still use ironing boards?
No.
Okay.
With all the new tables they got now, you fold them up into nothing and then you put them in the car.
Well, that makes it a lot easier. We have about a minute left. If someone wanted to get involved in your club, Al, do you have an email address or a website you could give us?
Yes, I have our Democratic Club. Website is www.democraticclub-scc.org. And if you get to that website, they'll contact us. Or if you wish, just leave information there and let them know that you want to contact either myself or my wife here. And we'll be glad to return a call.
Mm-hmm. And show people that it's not as scary or as hard as they might
Right.
think it is.
No.
I think people think it's scary out there because there's a lot of people. It's actually a nice occasion when you go out there and meet a lot of people that are got a lot of interest.
Well, and you're really providing a service for people, too. You're showing people how to continue their involvement in the political process by voting, which is one of our most important aspects of our democracy.
Right.
So you guys, the show's almost over. You guys are going to go out and do some tabling later?
We have that to do this afternoon.
Yes, we do.
That's great.
We thank those people that are covering for us, and we're going to do it this afternoon.
Great. Well, Dee and Al, thank you very much for volunteering to be on Democratic television. I hope we can find a lot more people out there just like you two.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching Democratic Television. Give us a call at 408-445-9500 or visit our website, www.sccdp.org. Help make a difference, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.